From CBS News, it's The Early Show.
Before we get to that, though, there's more legal trouble this morning for Penn State sex abuse suspect Jerry Sandusky. On Wednesday, an unidentified man filed suit against him, saying he is a victim as well.
The man claims that Sandusky molested him between 1992 and 1996. Correspondent Elaine Quijano has more.
In the first lawsuit filed against former Penn State football coach Jerry Sandusky, the plaintiff, identified only as John Doe, says he was sexually abused more than 100 times over a 4-year period. The alleged victim says Sandusky threatened to hurt him and his family if he told anyone about the abuse.
At that time, he was a promising athlete, and Sandusky spotted him and spotted his promise and began to groom him. And that's what predators do.
The now 29-year-old claims he met Sandusky through the Second Mile when he was just 10 years old.
It's an opportunity to throw out a rope to some kids, and if they grab hold, they can be champions.
Sandusky founded the charity in 1977. Investigators say he used it to prey on his victims. In addition to Sandusky, his foundation and Penn State University have also been named as defendants in the suit.
A lot of us are worried.
At a town hall meeting last night at Penn State, students were given the chance to ask questions and voice concerns about the scandal.
Sandusky was part of the Penn State family. We all are. And I feel shame.
In a statement released by the plaintiff, he acknowledges it took Sandusky's recent arrest for him to come forward. I never told what he did to me. I am hurting and have been for a long time because of what happened, but feel now even more tormented that I have learned of so many other kids were abused after me. He's seeking $400,000 and feels Sandusky belongs behind bars. Elaine Quijano, CBS News, New York.
The allegations at Penn State and also now at Syracuse University are leading other child sex abuse victims to share their stories.
Michelle Miller sat down with one man who spoke about his experience for the very first time. Michelle, good morning.
Good morning to both of you. It's estimated that 1 in 4 girls and 1 out of 6 boys will be sexually molested by the time they're 18. Those numbers are based on reported cases, and because most of these assaults go unreported, the real numbers could be much higher. As we found out, cases like those at Penn State and Syracuse are giving many victims the courage to speak out.
I've lived it. I saw it, from the showers to the dormitory room.
John Sweeney says he kept a secret for 43 years, but the day after former Penn State coach Jerry Sandusky was arrested on child molestation charges, he broke his silence.
When I saw the Penn State thing and they talked about the showers and this and that, it just brought home so many bad feelings. And that's what prompted me to come forward. It's just a horrible thing to go through.
Sweeney claims an assistant headmaster at his private boarding school in Newton, Massachusetts, sexually molested him while he slept in his dorm room. He was 11 years old.
When I woke up and I screamed, "What the F are you doing?" And he fell off the bed, pulling his pants up, yelling at me, going, "It's lights out, it's lights out."
Sweeney says the man made a number of other advances, but when he told his parents, they didn't believe him. A year later, Sweeney left the Fessenden school. The assistant headmaster was never charged, but school officials confirm he did resign in 1977 after being arrested in connection to a child prostitution operation.
Why so silent for so long?
Because I was so ashamed. I felt that people would look at me different.
That shame is shared by thousands of victims, but the investigations at Penn State and more recently at Syracuse University are having an impact on abuse crisis centers nationwide. 2 of the nation's largest abuse hotlines saw a spike of 1,500 more calls for help in the 2 weeks after the scandal broke.
These kinds of high-profile cases, what we have seen is that they do open the floodgates.
Liz Roberts runs Safe Horizon, a New York organization that assists victims of child abuse.
What survivors see in this story is that there were child victims who came forward and that they've been believed, that law enforcement is taking action to hold the perpetrator accountable.
Pedophiles don't get stopped until they're caught or they die.
Attorney Mitch Garabedian has represented thousands of victims of alleged child abuse, including cases against the Catholic Archdiocese of Boston. He represents John Sweeney and 5 other alleged victims, all former students at the Fessenden School.
Each and every victim has his or her own coping mechanisms, and when they can come forward, they'll begin to heal. Many victims, most victims, don't heal completely, but they'll heal at least a little bit and gain at least a degree of closure in their lives.
I just want people to be able, okay, to see me and say, you know what, this happened to me. They can't hold this in for 43 years. They can't.
And one thing that advocates say would help uncover these cases sooner is stronger reporting laws. Only 18 states require anyone who suspects abuse to notify authorities.
Wow. It's just heartbreaking, too, to hear when he's 11 years old and he goes to his parents. I mean,
well, think about it. This was 1969. You know, authority figures, coaches, headmasters of schools, priests, you know, they had our undivided trust.
There's not much you could do.
Not much, and people weren't talking about it.
Bottle it up.
Half the battle is
give him so much credit for
speaking
coming
out
now too. Michelle, thanks.
Thanks, Michelle. Terrell Brown over the news desk now with some more headlines. Terrell, good morning.